We are part of nature as human beings. It's very important for us to connect with the rest of nature.
I just love dipping my feet in the sand or in the water. It helps me to be most connected to nature and feel like most at home. I think nature is home for me.
It's like another world. You can't actually hear cars, you can't hear people. It's just the woods. There's a stream flowing through it and it kind of feels like you're the only person in that place.
Stand and watch the river flows, passing by and listening to it, and sometimes just throwing sticks into it and watch it flow away. I find that very liberating.
I think it's just the peacefulness there. I can be calm, take my time and just relax.
I feel very connected to nature, especially the newfound nature that I've seen in Ireland. Oceans and greenery that I've always dreamed about.
Whatever you might say about virtual reality and how fantastic technology is, we can never bring this.
There's two trees are growing. There's two trees are growing.
You are listening to Living Heritage, a documentary exploring the lives of a few people living in Cork, Ireland, at the intersections of food, childhood memories, rituals, beliefs, lived experiences, and nature. You will hear from people with diverse cultural backgrounds. I am Joanna Dukipati, founder of Good Day Cork, a multimedia hub dedicated to amplify unheard and excluded voices. This documentary is supported by Cork City Community Heritage Grant Scheme by Cork City Council. Your host is writer Cethan Leahy.
Hello, this is Cethan Leahy, and we are down by the Glucksman Gallery in University College Cork, the nice green area surrounded by trees, people cycling by, and the River Lee. I am here to introduce you to some very interesting people and their relationship with nature.
My name is Banu Remi. I am an occupational therapist and I've lived in Cork for about 17 years, Ireland about 20 years. I love living in Ireland because it's so green, so fresh. I'm an urban girl, a city girl. But that said, I was brought up in a desert for most of my childhood. People think that it's dark and there's nothing there and it's just barren, but actually it is beautiful. The smell of the desert is just amazing. There's nothing there, but it smells amazing. And what I really remember vividly is when, for a short period, monsoons would set in a very short period of time, and then there'd be all these little pockets of green looking like little mountain villages. So if you were driving by, and you can imagine like you're a really, really tiny person and you're living among trees and mountains, this beautiful jeweled succulents and cacti, and in the desert then, you know, you could see all the stars because there's no city lights, and you could really see the sunsets and the sunrises, like all the colours. And I think because we were 80s, 90s kids, we're outside so much playing in the sand and the sea. So it's great experiences of that. Now, when I got older, when we're in the city, there wasn't as much interaction with nature.
Which desert was that?
It was in Qatar.
So was it much of an adjustment to go from the desert to a slightly greener place such as Cork?
There's things that grow in the desert and things that grow here, and they don't grow otherwise. And I've tried growing lots of things here which shouldn't grow. It doesn't grow. But I suppose with nature, they find their space. It's their space, whether it's a desert or near the sea, or they have a space and that's their space. So there is fauna and flora that's particular to the desert and they thrive there, which wouldn't here. And they have certain, and I've, like say in the desert, you can actually smell flowers because I think the heat releases the fragrances. And while here, the same petunias don't have as much as a fragrance, but in the desert when you're walking, like the government would have planted, like on the marina, lots of petunias and you can actually smell the fragrance. I think it's the heat that releases it, but you'd never smell them here. They're the same flowers.
I remember when I first came to Ireland, I was traveling between Dublin and Cork, and I was looking at all the greens and all the rocks. And it looks very similar to when I will travel from the city where we lived as children, and we will go home for Christmas in my hometown. So it's very similar in the sense that the island is green. Nigeria is very green as well. We've got this beautiful sceneries when you're going, especially in the rural areas, as we call it. The weather is different. Yes, it's the total opposite. My name is Remi Kolawole. I'm from Nigeria. I've called Cork home for the past 22 years.
How important do you think it is to have a regular relationship with nature?
I think it should be an everyday thing. I think it should be the essential part of self-care for everyone. Another thing that I love to do whenever I'm able to get to the beach is to take off my shoes and walk barefoot. I also love to walk barefoot at home. We have a bit of a green area in my house. I'll just take off my shoe and go and stand, just connecting to the ground, just by standing on the ground. I think it's very important that we do that. Like, everyone needs to be doing that, because can you imagine we are wearing all these leather shoes, all these plastic shoes all the time? We don't really connect, and especially living in Ireland. Like, I remember for a whole year, I my skin didn't even come out because I had to wear tights or pants and clothes and be all the time. Even connecting with the natural hair is sometimes very difficult. So we have to be intentional about getting out, going into the sea. Sometimes when I go into the sea, I take the sand from the stick, I rub it on my skin as a scrub. It's a better scrub than the ones that we get in the shop. We are part of nature as human beings. So I think it's very important for us to connect with the rest of nature.
Do you have any particular photograph or video that reminds you of how you interacted with nature?
I did bring this picture, which is my mother with my children. And they're picking jasmine when they were much younger. They were 8 and 4 maybe. Now they're 18 and 14. So this is in Chennai, which is a very, very busy city. It's a very hot city. This is the balcony of the house. The whole house is covered in jasmine vines. They're holding little baskets of the jasmine that they have picked. That's an evening ritual that when my grandmother was alive, she would go picking the jasmine flowers for the evening prayers. Jasmine blooms in the evenings, so that's when it's the freshest and it's fragrant. And when the kids were younger and we were vacationing there, they spent hours just picking jasmine from the vines. My son wants to get a tattoo. So we've been debating about this, but he said what he wants to get a tattoo is a jasmine vine to remind himself of that house. I think you forget while you're younger how important green spaces are, how important nature is, because you're just busy trying to find yourself in your career, in your life. But as you get older, I think you need to be reminded.
I grew up in westernized, Christianized family, if you know what I mean. And I believe we missed out a lot on herbs, because there are so many herbs that are good for our health. They are natural. And like my family, we didn't do much of that, obviously, because we were westernized and we were Christianized. And some of these things were demonized, and some of them were kind of thought of as if they are inferior to Western medicine. So I would say I missed out on knowledge of herbs and barks, because there are so many medicine that are made from the bark of the tree in my culture. Even though my dad, once in a while, he will tap into that for himself, but it's not something that we never did. Like, if we had an headache, we went to the doctor.
For your own kids, do you try and find out more about that and pass it on, or?
No.
Yeah,
because it's just not part of me. I didn't grow up, using herbs and all sort of things like that. I think now I'm trying to go back to research and find out about these things. Yeah, so like I wouldn't take my kids to the doctor for everything as much as I went. Like if they had an headache, for example, I'll ask them to have a rest first. I'll talk to them about just use lemon and ginger rather than strepsils. In my culture, there's a lot of wisdom that is intertwined with nature. Elders, they bless younger people. And this blessings is some kind of declarations that they kind of say it to you. We call it isure. It's like they are telling you how things are going to be with you, and they are saying it with conviction. So, for example, they will take water and use water and say, Water is great. Everybody uses water. Nobody can be enemies with water. So therefore, you will go and you won't, be surrounded by enemies, because now you're like water. Everybody loves water. Water is always very useful.
So do you have a particular green space you like here in Cork?
I live out in the countryside, so I'm very lucky that I can walk through fields and, just the countryside where there's nothing there. When we lived in the city, and it's probably a secret spot, because behind Bellevue Rise and Ardfield, there's an estate and there are woods in there, and it is a beautiful, beautiful. It's a bit of an effort to get in there, but it's amazing. So if anyone can get into it, beautiful woods to walk through. So this place is in between all these built-up estates in Douglas, in Frankfield, and you go through all these houses and busy estate, with lots of cars, and then you walk down, and then there's the woods, and you can't actually hear cars, you can't hear people, it's just the woods, and there's a stream flowing through it, and it kind of feels like you're the only person in that place if you happen to go on your own. But I brought kids there, and they love it. They love exploring. It's like another world. It's gorgeous, and it's beautiful. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. It has different personalities through those seasons. It's an amazing, amazing place.
In Glenmire, there's a O'Callaghan Park in Glenmire. There are trees growing up, but there are no paths to go up. So somehow if you want to go up, you have to find your own way to go up. So we will try and walk, we find paths where we can. And then when we get to the top part of it, then we can just sit and relax. And then the fact that when you're up there, you're there by yourself. Not too many people go up there. It's like you've achieved something by, the task of getting up there. It's just the exploring in general, doing something different.
I always take a moment to look at the vision and smell and, smell whatever's going on, and just take that moment to really be in it. And it's something that I try to do with my kids as well. And I say, oh, look at that. Doesn't that smell nice? And just a reminder to do that. It is constant. It is needing to remember that we are in that space, and it's a sacred space, and need to appreciate it, because actually it does help our nervous system to regulate too. So it's not just mindfulness, but being a sensory experience. Like even if you looked up there and all the light that comes through the different parts of the leaves and the different colours, it's all the sensory experience, the overall. And whatever you might say about virtual reality and how fantastic technology is, we can never bring this to life. It's here now, and we need to appreciate it.
End of part 1. Catch part 2 of Living Heritage to enjoy the explorations. Please share this documentary with everyone you know who's keen to engage in conversations about connection with nature and cultural identity. You can even share your thoughts with us directly. Our email address and social media links are in the description of this episode. Thank you so much, and take care.